There we go. Oh, good. And Linda's joining us as well. Hi, Linda. And Joanne's on there. I see her as well. Hello.
I can't get the video to come up, but I'm here.
Who's that?
Joanne.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Just a lovely picture of you.
Yeah. It's not what I expected. I don't know how I got there, but that's what came up.
Well, Joanne, if you want the recording to see the video, just let me know.
Okay, thank you.
And that's provided that this all works, right? It's all
Hey.
a miracle. So as usual, I'm always inviting you guys to send me suggestions or topics or a breath technique that you want, or stress reduction, meditation, yoga, anything yoga. And so today's class, by special request, is about bursitis, in particular hip bursitis. So for those of you who don't know, bursa is like a beautiful, the body is so amazing, like a beautiful little pad, fluid-filled pad that is in things like your shoulders and your hips mainly, but also elbows, that kind of pads in the bony joint, that kind of helps with your range of motion, helps the range of motion to be smooth and fluid-like. And sometimes those pads just get inflamed. Could be from an injury, could be that you have like me, an overall autoimmune disease that causes generalized inflammation, or maybe chronic pain, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. These are things that have whole body inflammation. Just an aside, one of the things that can help with inflammation is an anti-inflammatory diet. And if you want any more information about that, just fire me an email. I've got dietary suggestions and everything. It sure has made a difference in my achy joints, just taking out things like gluten and dairy, just those two. But anyway, so in general, when we're working with any kind of inflammation, the idea is to move in such a way that, because movement is important, if we just stop moving, then healing slows down and we lose our function, our range of motion, everything. So you do need to move, but you need to move slowly, not in a way that heats your body or your mind up. If your mind starts to get agitated, that's very heating, and that causes more inflammation. And moving quickly causes things to tighten up and brace, and then you don't have that fluid movement. So really slowing down your reaction to things. Like if I say, okay, let's put the legs up the wall, just pause for a moment, pause and consider, and then take the action. So even slowing down our reaction time helps with overall inflammation. Finding ways like stress reduction techniques to help with anger or frustration, because those emotions are very heating as well. And practicing on a hot day like today is very heating. And so the whole general tone of today's class is to move slower, slow down the reaction time. So even if you just practice that for an hour, that's going to help with your stress reduction and inflammation. As to the degree of movement, you're moving or practicing moving in a way that doesn't increase your baseline of pain that you're starting with. So that can be really tricky, and that might mean not even doing some of the poses that I suggest today. But the idea would be to move slowly into a pose, probably do less than what you think you should do, or less than what you expect yourself to be able to do. So err on the side of caution. That way you're stimulating the joint, because that's where these bursas usually are. You're stimulating the joint. You're telling the joint you still want to be able to use it and to be able to move, but you're not doing it in a way that's inflammatory, right? You're not being rude. You're being kind. You're practicing kindness and compassion for yourself and working with the body's situation. And that's all that yoga is about anyway. You just have a particular teacher. So your teacher gets easily inflamed. So you're going to work with your teacher in a way that doesn't cause her to get upset, right? Oh, there's Dave and Janet joining us as well. Hi, you guys. Good to see you. So that's the general theme. We're just going to, and basically too, when we have an inflamed or a painful area, we tend to brace around it, which causes tension in all those surrounding muscles. So we're actually going to be doing movements that help, they're all around the hips, and they're going to help to give you some movement, but you get to tailor it in such a way that it's not increasing your pain or causing more inflammation. Err on the side of caution. So everybody will be practicing to a varying degree. Some of you don't have any pain in the hips. So you can, I'll mention ways that you can do more if you want to do more. All right. So we're going to start on our backs with just a little bit of chilling out, resting. You can, if you have any tight shoulders or any back issues, you might want to do a little fancy fold with your blanket to lay on that. I typically like to just fold my little cotton blanket. The blankets, you know, the ones that aren't puffy and flatten out when you lie on them are the best. If you have a bolster, you could lie on the bolster. And we're just going to start with some breath awareness. I would keep the knees bent. And you can just widen your feet and prop the knees together. Arms out to the sides so that you can cool your armpits. And if you like, you can close your eyes. And just sort of scan through your body just to see what's present for you at the moment. Feel where your body meets the support beneath it. Sense the air around you and the temperature. Sense any sounds. And then just bring your awareness to the breath and just enjoy observing and feeling the body breathe. So we don't need to fix it or change it or improve upon it. Just bringing your awareness to your breathing is going to have some impact. Feel the belly rise and fall, or the chest rising and falling with the natural flow of your breath. Each exhale, just give yourself permission to relax a little heavier into the support beneath your body. Sort of take a baseline reading of your temperature and just sort of set a pact with yourself that you're going to try to explore your yoga tonight in a way that doesn't increase your temperature and get you all hot and bothered. So see if you can stay cool. And those of you that are here tonight with any level of pain, take note of your pain level, usually a score of something out of 10. And just make yourself the promise that you're going to try to avoid anything that causes your pain to increase above your baseline. So I mentioned that we're going to be sort of targeting the muscles around the hips. Of course, every part of the body gets involved. But I'd like to start off with a lying down side bend. So those of you who are lying on a blanket or pillows or whatever, roll to your side and take that support away. And come back on your back and take the legs out straight. And just take a few moments just to adjust to that change in position. So I like to reference a clock when we're doing this. And if your head was at 12 o'clock and your feet are at 6 o'clock, I'm going to ask you to move carefully, maybe one leg at a time. Move them in the direction of 7 o'clock. So that would be taking your feet just a little bit over towards your right, not too far. And then just pause and see if that feels comfortable. If you've gone too far, then just move them back a little bit more towards straight or 6 o'clock. So you're kind of making a side bend with the legs. And then we're going to add the arms, in particular, the left arm. So I've naturally started off with my arms sort of not out like a T shape. Sort of my left hand, my left arm is at about 4 o'clock, I guess. So I'm just going to drag my knuckles on the floor to 3 o'clock. And then pause and see how that feels. If it's still comfortable, you can slide up to 2 o'clock and then pause. Or maybe even higher, just finding where there's no strain, no pulling, where you can still relax your body heavily into the floor. And we're just going to be here for about a minute, just breathing. Each exhale, just continue to let the floor support you. If you find yourself tensing up, maybe soften your pose a little bit. And keeping yoga a bit of a meditation, a moving meditation, just take note of when your mind has wandered away and just bring it back to the task at hand, your yoga practice, just for this time that you're on your mat. Two more breaths here. And then carefully bring that left arm down wherever you like on the floor, comfortable. Pause. And then shift the legs back one at a time to where you think 6 o'clock is again. Sometimes you have to even look. And then just notice how one side of the body, maybe the left side of the body, feels a little bit longer than the right. And then we're going to try that side bend on the other side, just taking the legs a little bit over towards the 5 o'clock direction. So that's towards the left. Pause before you add moving the right arm. And just take it up in increments, just sliding, seeing where it goes, where you can still relax into the floor. So there's a big bursa right on the outside of that hip. So this is stretching, getting into stretching the IT band, which slides or lies just over top of that bursa. And it goes all the way down to the outside of that knee on the right side. This is just a gentle stretch for that, and you might feel it in your waist as well, like up above the hip. And just massaging with that nice, easy breath. Two more breaths here. And again, as usual, if we're doing something that feels extra yummy for you, feel free to stay longer in whatever it is. You can always catch up with us later. Now, when you're ready to come out, just slowly reposition the arm wherever you like. Pause. Bring the legs back one at a time to 6 o'clock and pause. Carefully bending the legs at the knees, and we're just going to do some windshield wiper. Both knees going towards the one side and then the other. So of course this also massages the glutes, but you also might notice a bit of a stretch on that top hip, thigh. And it's up to you how far you go over. If you don't have any pain at all, you can go all the way over to the side if you like. And you might even want to just hang out there for a breath or two. You can also turn your head in the opposite direction that the knees are going. Once more each side. And then pause and draw one knee in towards the belly to give it a little hug. The other leg can stay bent, or you can take it out to straight. Some of you might want to lift your head up off the floor and bring your nose towards that bent knee. Be mindful when you release that knee, there's a bit of compression on the belly organs, so just feel that lengthen out. And then carefully bring the other knee in towards the belly to give it a hug. Nice deep breath. So this is a bit of a stretch for the low back. And then releasing that foot to the floor, both knees are bent. And cross your right leg over the left. And then take both knees towards the floor on your left. And that right foot can come onto the floor to stop you from going all the way over, or you can put your blanket or your bolster there if you like. And again, this is another IT band outer top right hip stretch. So it also gets into the glutes, low back. Again, you can turn your head to the opposite side if you like. Breathe. Carefully bringing yourself back up to neutral and uncrossing the legs, and then pause. And then uncrossing left leg over the right, taking them both towards the floor on the right with the left foot kind of stopping from me going all the way over. And then I'm turning the head to the left and breathing.
One more breath here. And then bring the head back to center first, and then bring the knees up. And let's see, what are we going to do next? Let's make our way up to sitting. You can sit on your blocks or your bolster or your blanket or just on the floor if you like. And I want to practice just a little bit of, it's called Shitali breathing. Shitali. It's a nice cooling breath. And when I went to China back in 1983, we were in Hong Kong and we had to go to the train station to catch the train into China. And we were there before dawn, but it was really, really, really hot. And I stopped sweating and got really swoony. And then at some point we were standing out in the sun. This is with like 200 other people and chickens and TVs. And, you know, people were doing all sorts of buying in Hong Kong and then going to China. And I started to faint and to pass out. And this Shitali breathing helped me for quite a while. It's kind of meditative in that it gives you something to focus on. But what it involves is sort of rolling your tongue into a circle, and it's like drawing the air up, as long as your tongue is still moist, drawing the air up slowly through that tube that the tongue makes. So I'm going to try to show it to you. And not everybody can roll their tongue like that. So if you're the 1 in 10 persons that can't do that, I'll show you a different way. But otherwise, you're rolling the tongue and drawing in the in-breath slowly, and then close the mouth and pause for a moment, and then just a nice exhale through the nostrils. So we'll play with this for about a minute. If you don't have to do it if you don't want, you can just sit here comfortably and focus on belly breathing. And you might notice how the breath gets cooled by being drawn over the air and on your tongue, the moisture, pardon me, on your tongue. So it can cool down the mouth, and you can sort of play with the shape of the back of your mouth so that you're directing that cool air like to the back of the throat even. If you can't roll the tongue, then just let your tongue lay flat and draw the breath over it. And kind of purse your lips a little bit. So if you were to pull up beside a stop sign outside today in 99-degree weather and look over at me, you might see me doing Shitali breathing and think, who is that crazy woman? But I'm telling you, it was a lifesaver for me for a while there. All right, Shitali breathing. Now, let's make our way to hands and knees. Put some extra padding under your hands or your knees if you need it. And we're just going to practice some slow, easy movements. And this is again for the hips. So just slowly easing back into child pose, trying to keep that neutral spine. And so you're taking your hips back by your heels, and it might be that your knees aren't happy doing that. So you could roll up your blanket or you put your bolster at the backs of your knees so you only come back so far, and the arms can be stretched out in front. And then we're going to come up
And then go back again slowly. Keeping that neutral spine so all the movement's happening in the hip joint. Just back and forth. There's also a bit of squeeze and release that happens in the joint and in the burses when you're doing this. So that helps to make them want to stay plump. And also there's some opening for the shoulders here. There's some weight coming on the hands, so you're working your arm strength as well. And another variation you can try here is to take the knees a little bit wider. So the big toes are kind of touching. And this just targets a couple other different muscles. And some of you might want to come into upward facing dog even. And you can vary the speed that you're going at. Remember, we're practicing not overheating today, so keep in mind, notice when you're starting to overheat. And when you feel like you've done an appropriate amount of that, then rest in child pose. So you could rest your forehead on your block and take the hands back by the feet. Or maybe your forehead comes all the way down to the floor. And just breathe here. Now, if your knees aren't happy with this, you could lie on your back and just hug both your knees in towards your belly. Nice deep breath, a couple more breaths just into that low back and into the hips. So we can still work on strengthening those the outer hip muscles. You know, if the muscles are strong, my thought is that there isn't as much compression and friction on the bursa, you know, because you've got the muscles supporting the joint as well. So a lot of times when we do bird dog, I'm telling you to keep that neutral spine. But today we're going to do the fire hydrant pose. So make sure you've got your shoulders right over the heels of your hands and your knees right underneath your hip joints. And then without listing to the side, just go ahead and free up one leg and just take it out to the side a little bit. And then bring it back. And you can do a few on one side. And you'll feel your core working here too, by the way. So do a few on one side and then try it on the other side. Doing as best you can to keep your spine neutral, because we're not using the spine to do this. We're just trying to target these outer hip muscles right here. So this is kind of like a kneeling clam. I mean a lying down clamshell. That would be painful to do for somebody who has a hip bursa that's sore. What do you think, Adele? Are you doing it?
Yeah, I can do it. I've just got to make sure that my knees stay right under my hips.
Yeah, yes, you're right, girl. So you might not lift as high as me. It's not about the height. It's more about targeting specific muscles. And also remember, today we're practicing being cool. So when we're doing core work, we tend to get heated. So monitor how warm you're getting, and you can always rest child pose or whatever pose you want. And then we'll all take a momentary rest in child pose when you feel finished. That's the way. And just being with the breath. All right. So now those wrists have had a little bit of a rest. We'll come back up to tabletop pose and do bird dog, which is another core one, but it's really going to work the glute muscles. So if we got good outer hip muscles and good strong glute muscles working, they should help stabilize that joint, and that'll give the bursa a chance to become uninflamed. So when you're ready, coming back to tabletop, and this time we're just going to extend one leg back towards straight, and you can be up on the toes, or you can even lift the toes off the floor a little bit. Again, keeping the spine as neutral as you can. And then you can do a couple on one side and then switch to the other, or you can alternate. Those of you who want to work your core more, you can extend the opposite arm. And again, because this is core work, watch that you're not overheating. Extending the leg back, stabilizing it a bit, resting the big toe on the floor, lifting. You can point or flex that foot that you're lifting. Don't forget to breathe. Good. And resting again in child pose before we make our way to standing. So take a nice breather in child pose. Breathe into the hips. Okay. So you might want to come up through doing a downward dog if you want, or find any old way to make your way up to standing. Those of you who are working on balance and strength and everything, try to use your hands to a minimum so that you're really counting on the power of your legs. Okay. So we did a lying down side bend to stretch the IT band. So now we'll do a standing one. So take a little bit wider stance, a comfortable wide-ish stance. And then I'm going to take the right arm up and over. And as it goes over, I'm going to push my right hip to the right. And just dial in a nice stretch for yourself. Staying rooted through the feet. And if you're finding this really easy for you, you're not overheating, then you can engage the other arm, bring it up part way or all the way up. And just lean and reach, press down and reach up and out. When you're ready to come up, think about pressing down into the feet, and you can bring the arms down first if you want, particularly if you have anything going on in your back. All right, other side. Left arm comes up, and over. And as you're adding that arm, just notice when you've got just the right amount. And then again, you can add the second arm if you like. You're kind of framing your head with the arms. You're not letting the head hang down. Rooting down through the feet to come up. Good. And let's make some circles with the shoulders, either one at a time or both together. And then take a little bit wider stance, feet parallel to each other, and let's do some hip circles. Just nice and slow. Notice, like I notice the inner thighs to me are tighter. I feel more of a stretch there than I do on the outer parts of my legs. And change direction. Good. So this next one is where I'd like you to use the wall if you've got one, just so you have reference. You're going to stand with your feet about hip width apart and your butt on the wall. And then we're just going to cross, I'm going to cross right leg over left. Just kind of work it out where it's kind of comfortable. And then keeping your butt on the wall, we're just going to forward fold. So your butt will probably slide up the wall a little bit. That's good. That means your pelvis is moving. You find a comfortable forward fold. Hands can be on the hips. So you notice where you feel this stretch. Each leg will feel a little bit different. And then carefully coming back up. Uncrossing the legs and then just pausing for a moment. Looks like my video screen froze, so I don't know what to do about that. I don't know if Peter can hear me. Oh, there it is. All right. So there's always the other side. So when you're ready, crossing left leg over right, find where it's comfortable. So you actually end up with the left foot a little bit further forward than the other one. And then slide your butt up the wall for that forward fold. You can also rest your hands on your back or draw the shoulder blades in, open up through the chest. Try not to have your chin either lifting or your head hanging down. It's an extension from your tailbone all the way out, a nice neutral spine. You can play with how far forward you go. Some people even put a block on the floor or rest your hands on a chair. Think about sliding your butt down the wall when you go to come up. And uncross the legs. Let's see here. Okay. Now you can use the wall again while we do. We're going to try going from a tree pose to a half moon
It's almost half moon coming up. So the tree pose, the leg that's standing next to the wall is going to be the one I'm standing on. The leg that's not next to the wall is the one I'm just going to pivot out to the side. So you can even put your hand on the outer hip and feel that muscle working to turn that thigh bone out in the hip socket. And we'll just start with just going, taking the leg in and out. Try to stand nice and tall, and I just have my elbow resting on the wall to help steady me. And of course, you could always have your foot up higher on your leg and take that knee in and out. And we're trying to move just the leg, not the whole pelvis. So if I was moving the whole pelvis, my whole body would be turning. So no, we want to keep the hips facing forward, just turning the leg bone out. So we have to use our glutes. At some point, you can take a rest, or if you feel okay, you can just go into your full tree pose. Take one arm or both arms up and really press your root, your standing leg, your trunk, all the way down. Plug it right into some cold body of water deep in the ground to nourish you and cool you. Cool your roots. So this is really creating strength in all the muscles that support that standing leg. Take a few moments just to rest before we move into half moon, and we'll be standing on the same leg. So in other words, that's the leg that's next to the wall or the chair or the table, whatever you've got there to help steady you. And if you can think of sort of setting yourself up for our practice where you do have access to a wall or the back of a door or a chair, that would be great. So I'm getting closer to the wall now where my outer hip can slide on the wall without leaning way into it. It's just there where I can graze it. And then I'm going to start, I'm going to start to tip forward as if I was picking a block up off the floor. Or you can place your hand on the edge of your bed or a chair. And then I'm opening the pelvis into the room. So that's an inner thigh stretch and an outer hip strengthener. And you can keep the one hand on your hip, or you can extend that arm up towards the ceiling. So you're really working the muscles on that lifted leg and stretching the inner thigh on the standing leg. Watch that you're not overheating. Be very careful when you come out of the pose. Those of you who are working on increasing your strength, remember last week we talked about that. Don't stay in a pose where you start to get fatigued and start to wobble. You're only strengthening the wobble muscle. So start with 1 breath or 2 breaths in the pose and gradually build up your strength. All right? Gradually, I mean over weeks and months. Because we want to be able to build strength with the form that we want to have when we're standing. So neutral, not shaking and falling. All right, then we can turn around and try the other side, starting with tree. Big toe can be on the floor or on a block. Just getting that pivot down first of all, working all these muscles around the hip, the glutes, the upper inner thigh, the outer hip. And of course that standing leg is getting nice and strong too. And then whenever you like, you can go into your tree pose with the arms up if you like, or not. You can keep your hands close to your heart. Try to lift your torso up and out of the pelvis. The pelvis is like the bulb, and your spine is that nice growth coming up and out of the bulb. Your head and your face, that beautiful flower. And there you are. So again, remembering whenever we have an itis or inflammation, it becomes really delicate to learn how much is good medicine, how much movement is good, and when does it become too much. So you go for the first little inkling of it starting to be too much, or even don't go that far. We're such sensitive beings. So those are two nice standing balance poses. What else did I have down on here I wanted to do? Do pigeon lying down. Okay. Just one last one, and my favorite pose. So it's the crescent lunge, which has a forward fold in it, a strong back leg. And when you add a twist to a standing pose, really imagine the outer hips as squeezing in towards each other to create stability, and also feet plugged in. So I'm taking a big step forward with my right leg. Those of you who feel wobbly can have a chair right in front of you that you could hold on to, or a countertop. And remember, we always want a nice base before we start to add any of the frilly stuff, like a twist or getting our arms involved. So this stretches out the fronts of the hips. Then we're going to tip forward, hands on the rib cage, and turn it towards that front leg that's bent. The knee is right above the ankle, and you can just place your hand on the knee or the outside of the knee, and you can press the hand and the knee into each other. That creates a lot of stability. You should feel the glutes working. Squeeze the outer hips in towards each other. The other arm can point at the wall that you're looking at or up towards the ceiling. Well, it's a nice calf stretch too for the back leg. Always be careful coming out of a twist. Try not to practice falling out of the twist. And then, how was that?
I fell out of that one.
Aha. Did you fall on your beak? All right. So let's try the other side. Just get the stance first of all. Pelvis is facing straight ahead. You've got a lot of weight on the ball of the back foot. Sometimes I like to bounce up and down. That makes me feel stable. Then I'm tipping forward. Now, if you don't take a big enough stance, when you tip forward, your head could be way ahead of your knee, and that's going to make you really wobbly. So you're actually more stable if you take that back foot back further. Tipping forward, hand on the rib cage as you twist it towards that front knee. Think about being open across the collarbones.
We talked too long.
Just take your time. Take your time going in and out of the pose. That's the way.
Can't do it.
Just do the first part. Just get the stance. Don't try to do the twist. There you go. That's it. Take 2 breaths there and then come out.
Need to practice that.
Good. I feel that in my hips. All right, my friends, let's take one more circle with the hips and maybe they feel a little bit looser. And there's nothing wrong if they hurt more, or it's just feedback. It's just letting you know, okay, I did a little bit, I put a little bit too much cayenne pepper. It's too spicy now. But you'll learn for next time, right? That's yoga, is the learning of how to be in this body. All righty, my friends, we'll make our way down to the floor. And we're going to do, let's see, if you've got some wall space, take your mat to the wall space because we're going to finish with legs up the wall. Or legs, you could just put your calf muscles on an ottoman or a chair or your bed. And we're going to try the seated or lying down variation of the hip piriformis stretch. So I'll demonstrate it sitting up, and then you could stay sitting up, works your core a bit more, or you could lie down on your back and do it. So I've got my hands behind me, and I'm taking my outer right ankle and placing it on my left knee. And for some of you, that's enough of a stretch right there. If you're not particularly feeling any stretch, then you're going to try to sit up a little bit more until you dial in an appropriate amount of a stretch. If you're lying down, you keep the same configuration with the legs, only you thread the right arm through and grab the left hand at the top of your left shin or at the back of the left knee. So that gives a nice little glute and piriformis stretch. You could also do this at the wall with the left leg straight up and the heel on the wall. And then you don't have to use your arms. Now to get the other side, if you're sitting up, it could be a fun little balance to switch without putting your feet on the ground or without using your hands. Whoa. Breathing. Two more breaths here. And then undoing that. If you're not already down on your back, go back on your back and we'll do the lying down twist once more. There's a variation on it. So the left leg is out straight. The right foot is just resting above your left knee. Take the left hand onto the right knee and take it over towards the floor on your left. Right arm reaches out towards the wall on your right, and turn your head to look at the wall on your right. Well, maybe it's not a wall, maybe it's a window or a chair. You can play with the position of that knee. If you bring it, up higher, it'll stretch in a different place than if it's down lower. Nice deep breath again.
Bringing your head back to center before you bring yourself back onto your back. Take the right leg out straight and just pause. And then left foot on the right upper leg. Right hand takes the left knee towards the floor on the right. Look towards the wall on your left. And breathe. Just feel yourself cooling down a little, softening. A few more breaths here. Head comes back to center. Coming back onto your back and then wiggling so that you can have your legs straight up the wall, or the calves could be resting, like I said, on an ottoman or a box or something else. Another option here is you could press your feet into the wall and lift your pelvis up and put a block underneath of it. Sometimes that feels good, or if you've got a bolster, you can put that underneath your pelvis. And arms can be out from the sides so you can cool your armpits. Yeah, we take care of everything in yoga. And we've got the floor and the wall supporting us now so that you can really start to let go. Just letting your thigh bones rest into the hip sockets. Hopefully it feels nice and warm, you know, a nice blood-infused warmth on all the muscles surrounding the hip area. And you're welcome to stay with the legs straight up the wall. You notice I don't have my feet turned out to the sides. Or you can take the legs out into a V. Again, I'm not letting my feet kind of flop out to the sides. Another option, if you like to, is you could bring the soles of the feet together and just let them slide down the wall. And any of these you might need to either move closer to the wall or further away from the wall so that it feels comfortable. Just closing the eyes and let the eyes, all the little muscles around the eyes soften. Keep relaxing all the muscles around the hip joints. And imagine those little bursas, those
Lovely little cushions, nice and cool and smooth, filled with a nice, cool, comfortable gel. Any inflammation just cooling down. Get a sense of space in the joint. Lots of nice synovial fluid. So this legs up the wall is a very calming yoga pose. It's known for relaxing the whole nervous system, cools the nervous system. So you can hang out here for as long as you like, or if you're ready to make your way up to sitting to say goodbye, that's okay. And just move slowly, languidly. Remember, quick movements excite the nervous system, just like a little critter moving quickly stimulates my cat's instincts to pounce. So moving slowly and languidly calms the nervous system, calms any inflammation. I'd like to thank each and every one of you lovely friends for taking some time out from your day to join us for some Zoom yoga. I'll just say namaste, and then if you want to chat for a bit, you can unmute yourself and we can chat for a little bit, or if you need to go and feed the dog or pour yourself a G&T, I'll totally understand. Namaste. Yeah.
I'd love to have a recording of that one.
Okay, well, I hope the recording worked. And Brenda, I will put you down for that. How does everything, how do you feel?
Right now I feel okay, not too hot,
All right, good. Yeah,
warmed up, but it's time to go make dinner.
all right. Well, have a lovely evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah,
Thank you, Jill.
you're
I
welcome.
appreciated it.
All right, Adele, thank you. Did you get my email this afternoon or this
Of
morning?
course. It was quite extravagant. Thank you.
Thank you. That picture's gonna go up on this orange, whoops, on this orange wall here. Don't you think it'll
I
look?
love your orange wall.
I thought
With your
you.
purple, yeah, with your purple map. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome. See you, Adele. This evening.
Yes, I will.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you, Jill. Thanks.
It's
Bye.
almost hot to hug, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I can send you a cool virtual hug, eh?
Yeah, that works.
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
I like being able to see your face. It's just great to be in touch with you guys. Like I didn't realize it's an extra bonus to be able to see you guys and connect with you.
It's
So,
fun.
Good. Well, we'll see you again.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye for now. And hi, Karen.
Thank you, Jill.
Oh, there's Charlie. Hi, Charlie. Good. Are you guys, did you manage to practice and keep it cool?
Yep, we have air conditioning here.
Oh, good. How can you tell I don't? Okay, so next time it's hot, you guys are gonna work up a sweat.
Thank
Okay,
you. That felt good.
good. I'm glad to hear it. Good. We'll see you guys next week then, eh?
Hi,
Yes.
Charlie.
Hi, Marilyn.
Hi there. Jill, I have a friend that kind of called me right in the middle of this, and she's trying to hook up to Zoom so she can join yoga. So I'll email you her email and see if I can't help her get started tonight. Just
Okay.
using Zoom is one thing, and then getting to the meetings another.
Yes, yes. Okay,
Well-
that sounds great, Marilyn.
So I'll send that to you too and try to help her a little bit and see where we get. Thank you.
All righty. Good to
Bye.
see your face. Okay, and I guess Joanne is gone. Everybody's gone. All right.